Being a Longhorn is opportunity, pride, achievement, community, safety. Being a Longhorn is a choice to become a hero, to lead, to thrive in any setting. Being a Longhorn means immersing yourself in fine arts, learning at your own pace in Montessori, starting your path to college in elementary, earning a college degree in high school. The pride of being a Longhorn lives on long after graduation. Educate, empower, inspire.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our 20th Digital Parent University. This one is the end of year review, plus we are going to take a look ahead to our 2021-2022 school year. My name is Alicia Davis, Director of Family and Community Engagement with Cedar Hill ISD. I want to let you know of a few upcoming events. On Tuesday of next week, that is the last day of school for our scholars, there will be an early dismissal. Also next Friday at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock respectively, our senior graduations will occur at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, and we're so excited about that. Summer school will start on the 14th of June. And the 15th of June, we will have our next Trustee Connection session where we will talk about the truth in taxation. And also launching the day after that, on the 16th, we have our Longhorn Help, which is our Heal, Engage, Learn, and Play initiative that actually we have Ms. Bogar who will talk to us a little bit about during this presentation. Tonight, we have our fearless leader, Dr. Gerald Hudson, our superintendent of schools. We have our chief financial officer, Mr. Gilberto Prado. We also have Mr. Tellance Graham. He is our assistant superintendent of student services and administration. And of course, we have Ms. Lawrence Bogar. She is our social and emotional learning specialist. All right, now we will send it to Dr. Hudson to talk about our vision, mission, and motto.
So one of the things with Lone Star Governors, the Board of Trustees and the administration team sat down and talked about what we want to have as our mission, vision, and motto. So if you are not aware, the vision of Cedar Hill Independent School District is unlocking every Longhorn's potential. And that's important because that's not just for students, that's also for our staff. So we want to make sure we reach everyone at their particular point and make sure they can reach their potential. Then our mission is to develop resilient scholars who excel academically and are empowered to serve. And the important piece is empowered to serve. We all know that we want our kids to excel academically, but also one thing that we have learned during this pandemic that our kids are resilient. And we want to continue to develop that because this is just one hurdle. We don't know what the future holds for all our students. And so they're going to have the ability to be resilient and bounce back. And lastly, our motto is to educate, empower, and inspire. And that's for everyone. Everyone can educate, everyone can empower, and everyone definitely can inspire through our works, through our words. And so we just want to make sure that people know what our mission, vision, and motto for our school district as we continue to move forward. So let's take a look back. You know, we want to take a look back at 2021. There's a lot of things we had to endure during this time, but we want to take a quick look at some things, just some highlights, because there's so many things that are not mentioned on here, but a lot of successes to our school district. We opened our new enrollment center. It's the centralized enrollment center, which is on Beltline. We welcomed 3 new board of trustee members, and there are pictures of them and swearing in. We also started new partnerships. A part of our one of the superintendent constraints is not to diminish any of our partnership, but it also about increasing the number of partners we have. And so we had a partnership with my alumni, university I received my master's and doctorate, which is Texas A&M Commerce, and where Mr. Tellance Graham is currently working on his doctorate, and also Tarleton State University. And this is also to support not only our scholars, but also our staff. And then also we have on here about our teacher supply warehouse, which was a new venture. So now we have a place where staff can get supplies, and that is replenished through generous donations from many individuals and corporations. So we want to make sure we take the needs of our teacher and continue to provide them with those opportunities and things they need for our students. So we talk about some of our partnerships and some of the things we're really excited about. Lone Star Governance, and we're going to go into something that I'm really excited about for our Board of Trustees, but that is kind of our operating system in looking at how the Board of Trustees and the superintendent and the cabinet works together to make sure we do what's in the best interest of our students. We have 4 student outcome goals. And so that is what we talk about a long time. So you hear a lot about Lone Star Governance, but we're really proud of the work we're doing together as a group. STEM Inspired, of course, you know about this is a multi-million-dollar, multi-year grant that we received through Texas Instrument, Educate Texas. And so we're excited about the opportunity to integrate STEM into everything that we do from pre-K to 12 with the opening of our STEM Center in 21, 22. Schoology is something that was new to us because when we dealt with COVID last year, we had to shut down. We really didn't have a way to, we were thrust into an online platform as far as trying to do work. And so Schoology is the LMS, learning management system, that we chose, which did a great job, and we still have some things we have to work out. But because Schoology, we were able to, and it's really Schoology in conjunction with our devices. You know, it took us some time to get them in, but they're here now and they're not going anywhere. So now how do we make sure we continue to provide our students with what they need in order to be successful? Chartwells is our food provider. They provide our meals. They've done a great job this past year with making sure we provide meals for our students. And we had drop-offs, and we tried every opportunity we looked at every way we could to make sure that if a kid needed something to eat, we try to find a way to get it to them. Transpar, most of you may not be aware of, we are moving away from First Student as our transportation provider. So Transpar is a company as well as a consulting company. They're helping us to transition so that we will eventually have our own transportation department. We will be able to start doing a lot of stuff. So again, I heard a lot of the outcry for help when it came to transportation. And this is a way for us to take ownership of something that we feel is very important, because if our kids do not get to school on time, then that kind of sets the tone for the day, and we want to make sure our kids are there. So these are a few of our partners, and we have many others that are not listed here, but they all do a great job to help us provide the best quality education we can for our students. And when I mentioned about Lone Star Governance, one thing I'm excited about, we've had done this for 5 quarters and understand that the pandemic was doing all of this. And so the Board of Trustees and the Cedar Hill Independent School District, we actually made the Lone Star Governance Leaderboard, which is a huge accolade for us. So in order to get the MEETS level, you have to be at 60. And so to be at the master level, you have to be at 85. And we were at 84 this quarter. So we are still working towards how to be better. If you notice, there are 2 stars, and the 2 stars represent how much time we spend on student outcome goals. So when you take all the minutes of the board meeting, whether we are dialoguing about finances, dialoguing about presentation, everything else, we have to take that in consideration against the things that are based upon the student outcome goals, our 4 student outcome goals. And so our main objective is to make sure we're over 50%. If we're over 50%, then that goes from 2 stars to 3 stars. And that's the goal we're trying. So that means that we spend half the time in our board meetings, workshops, or whatever, talking about student outcome goals. Because again, as a school district, as a board of trustees, our main goal is to do to look at what our students are doing. It's about the students and everything else. And this Lone Star Governance is about keeping us focused on those particular things. And so to kind of make sure I'm okay. So COVID-19, the pandemic brought some, well, we're fine with that. It's the next one, Miss Davis. Thanks for laughing at me. You know, I know you're enjoying this. All right. So COVID-19, we're talking about all the things that we have done in order to properly keep our kids safe, to keep our families safe. We had to go and do a lot of different things. We had a vaccination clinic, the sanitizing different areas. We bought the plexiglass to keep our kids safe during lunch. We were trying to do everything to make it safe for our kids to come back to campus. And so as we continue to move forward, we are hopeful that next year will not be like this year. There has already been some changes with the governor decree about masks. But we're hopeful that we will continue to move in the right direction so that we can see all our babies face to face, and we can continue to try to help them get to where they should be at the current grade level they're in. So to talk more about that, we're going to have Mr. Graham, our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services and Administration, to give us more information.
Thank you for that, Dr. Hudson, and good evening to everyone. Cedar Hill ISD will implement new protocols this summer as the COVID-19 conditions continue to improve and the vaccines become more widely available. All existing disease mitigation guidelines, including the mask requirements, will remain in place throughout June the 4th. But effective June 5th, all existing COVID-19 protocols will be replaced with the following protocols. First, face coverings will be optional for all staff and scholars. That is due, of course, to the governor's orders, and we will follow those particular orders. Campuses and all administration will ensure that no scholar is treated differently due to their choice to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. Visitors will be allowed on campus, but there will be some rules that those visitors must follow in order to get on campus and move around on that campus. We will continue to ask people to follow the 6-foot social distancing when feasible. Particularly in classrooms, we will attempt to do that, but we know that once students are fully on campus, that may not be feasible. Scholars will be asked to continue to wash their hands frequently throughout the day, and we will have our hand sanitizing stations throughout the campuses, because of course we believe that we must continue to watch out for this particular virus to ensure that there's no uptick in those numbers. Parents and employees will continue to report their confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 to health services, but that information will no longer be tracked on the district COVID-19 dashboard. Scholars and staff with confirmed cases of COVID-19 must quarantine for 10 days now from the date of the symptom onset or from a positive test if they have no symptoms. Parents and staff will be notified if there's a positive case in the scholar's classroom or department. Staff will not conduct the close contact reviews, and scholars will not be required to quarantine for exposures. We will continue to follow isolation protocols for those scholars that have symptoms. And of course, disinfecting and sanitation of high touch areas will continue on our campus to maintain safety. As we continue with the student and employee attendance, scholars are expected to be in school in person starting the summer of 2021. All scholars who test positive will quarantine 10 days, as I stated before, but scholars who are exposed will not quarantine unless they show symptoms. The scholars will quarantine for about 7 to 14 days based on health services guidelines. Next, our employee attendance. Again, all teachers and staff are expected to be at work in person, and they will quarantine for 10 days if they test positive for COVID-19. Employees who have been exposed and have been vaccinated are not required to quarantine. Employees who have been exposed and have not been vaccinated and are showing symptoms will be required to quarantine. If they're not showing any symptoms, they do not have to quarantine. And employees who have been exposed to someone who's tested positive and are showing COVID-19 symptoms must show that medical certification verifying the positive test, and they must quarantine for those 10 days. Now, as we get into this COVID-19 protocol, we must understand that these are being lifted based on the governor's orders, and Cedar Hill ISD is committed to providing a safe and secure environment for all teachers and students. We'll continue to update the blueprint throughout the year based on the latest information from CDC, Dallas County, and TA. But we are asking all parents and community members to stress the importance of hand washing and other safety protocols as we continue down this road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Up next, we have our CFO, Mr. Prado, who will talk a bit about our SR3 funds.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share some information that has come down from federal assistance related to COVID-19 relief stimulus funding. So I will give you a brief update on it and what it means for us, what it means for our community, and what we're asking our community to assist us with as we move forward towards this plan. This funding was, of course, made possible through the American Rescue Plan. It is SR3 is the way we kind of refer to it, because there's been an SR1 and SR2, and now we're referring to SR3. So on April 28th, we were informed of our allocation. Our local allocation for Cedar Hill was approximately $12.2 million. Of that allocation, we will receive 2/3, which is approximately $8.2 million. And we have submitted, as the first step to get this funding, our application designation and certification form. So that has been submitted. And we are in the progress of applying for the grant. So that's kind of what the essence of the relief stimulus funding is. If we go to the next slide, what is it exactly? Again, the application deadline is July 27, and it applies to expenditures related to COVID-19 starting on March 2020 through September 2024. We have until September 2024 to spend the allocation for the district. Again, we anticipate that most of those expenses will occur prior to 2024, but we are focusing on ensuring that we appropriately set aside the funding according to some of the plans that we've made. 80% of the funds will be spent on a wide range of pandemic response expenses. At this point in time, it includes staffing expenses. But again, things are changing as we speak, so we'll update us ourselves and continue to research any possible changes that might occur as more guidance comes down the pipe. 20% of it must be used to address learning loss. That's a big one. Again, we can allocate a lot more towards that, and we anticipate that we will. But again, we have to, at the minimum, address our learning loss, and 20% of the total funding must be set aside for this purpose. Maintenance of effort and maintenance of equity requirements are in place. And I do want to highlight this last bullet related to community engagement requirements. It is imperative that we get some feedback from our community. As we go to the next slide, what are some of the possibilities that we can use these funds for? Support teachers, again, by supporting them by training, resources, coaching. We could also use it for instructional materials designed to help teachers, schools, and parents. We could also use more time for learning students that are needed. And we want to empower our parents as the child's first teacher. Again, these are some of the ideas. If we go to the next slide, we'll get a little more details as to what that means. Supporting teachers, again, professional development is a big one. Staffing, we could use it for some staffing again, but we have to remember that this is a one-time allocation. And after 2024, it will no longer exist. Rigorous instructional materials, it could be for technology, training, instructional materials to address areas of need, obviously COVID learning loss, learning management systems, More time, what does that mean? It means extended instructional time for our kids. It could be extended day, it could be extended year, it could be tutoring, summer learning. Those are some of the ideas that TEA has communicated as potential uses of funds. Empower parents, what does that mean? Mental health and behavioral support, social workers, at-risk coordinators, additional counseling services, and some wraparound and community partnerships. So again, that's the piece on empowering parents. And other supports, again, potentially, although we've been receiving daily guidance as to we have to submit for facility upgrades and ventilation and cleaning, HVAC, it's no longer just, oh, we're going to do it. It's a possibility, but we actually have to submit a request to see if it gets approved before we actually do it. But it could include technology devices, infrastructure upgrades. Again, I already mentioned learning management systems. But these are some of the highlights that we received through the Texas Education Agency. And of course, this was related to the Commissioner's call on April 29, 2021. And again, there's been already a month past, and we're getting some new guidance as to how we could potentially proceed. On the next slide, what is the timeline and what have we done? We have actually met with the District Educational Improvement Council on May 24 to get feedback. We have started a community survey that began on May 28. The survey closes on June 15. And then, of course, we have to submit our budget summary and application to TEA. The next slide. So this is where I need your help. For those community that are engaged, that are listening, we are wanting and needing as much participation in this SR3 survey that we have put in place. Again, this is just a sample of what we're asking you to do. It's a very simple survey, but very significant for us. As you can see on the right side, who the respondents have been as of June 2nd, 2021. We had approximately 662 participants, and the majority have been parents. So thank you very much for that. Of course, campus staff, we need your help. Students, as many as we can get to participate, that would be absolutely phenomenal. And of course, our community. Don't forget our community. We need your help. And again, you can see that we would love to have more community participation overall. So I want to thank you for what you've done already, and I will ask you to please help us increase these responses so that we can engage a good, solid foundation for us to move forward with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prado. So for individuals who are watching this right now, please scan this QR code in order to take this survey. Students, parents and guardians, staff, you all were sent this on May the 28th from CHISD Communications. It is the email that I think it says, please complete the SR3 survey. Please, if you want to send that out to people, because we do want as much community engagement and feedback as possible. So if you want to forward that to other people who live in Cedar Hill or outside of, the Cedar Hill ISD, please, by all means do. As long as they are a part of the community, we want we want their feedback on how these funds should be used. So again, check your emails from May the 28th, scan this QR code, and please, please participate in this survey. All right. What's next? We have Miss Bogart. She's going to talk to everyone about Longhorn Help, which is launching June the 16th, coming right on up.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Good evening, everyone. We are elated to launch Longhorn Help, Heal, Engage, Learn, and Play. So COVID-19 has brought so many uncertainties. However, Longhorn Help is reviving the ultimate love of our community. It is going to provide weekly connection opportunities. The kickoff is June 16th at Weaver Park, When I say, you guys, it's going to have DJ, food trucks, different partners such as Movie Night, African Drumming, Dallas Wings, and much more. The food trucks, you look at Chick-fil-A and beignets, snow cones, and ice cream. We're going to come together once again. In spite of the pandemic, what kept us apart for an entire year, we're bringing ourselves back together. So light refreshments will be provided. Weekly giveaways will be available to take home immediately afterwards. So let me tell you what it looks like, sound like, and feels like. It will be every Wednesday in June and July, excluding July 7th when the district is closed. On the screen, you'll see the 6 locations that you'll be able to choose from to register. On the left side, your left or my right, there's a QR code. You'll be able to register and say, you know what, I want to go here and there on each particular day. It's from 5 to 7. I want you guys to come out, have a good time. Let's revive the community. Let's bring back the love and the energy of CHISD. I am elated to lead this initiative this summer, and it is going to be a good time. But I want you to lean in. I don't want you to miss June 16th. June 16th is where it's at. My own boss, Mr. Graham, is our DJ for that night. So come on out, have a great time. There'll be a dunk machine. There'll be plenty of food. So June 16th for Longhorn Help is the kick off. We are coming back together because this is just the beginning, you guys, of our launch when it comes back to the fall. All kids are encouraged to come back to the campuses in August. So this is just a taste of what's getting ready to happen for next year. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bogar. You see the QR code there. Also, please register for this event, especially on the 16th. We want you to register. I think you can register at the location, but we want you to register in advance. So please go ahead, take a screenshot, do what you need to do to get this information. You can also visit chisd.net/longhornhelp. So you can register there as well. This is exciting. So much fun we are going to have this summer. Oh my goodness, what time is it? It's time for a live Q&A from YouTube and Facebook. If you do have questions, this is your time to submit those questions about anything you've heard this evening or anything you might have questions about. You do have all of these wonderful people here this evening who should be able to address your questions. I do want to say thank you to our board president, Cheryl Wesley. She said this is a great way to keep our stakeholders informed. So we appreciate you for tuning in and everyone for tuning in this evening. We have quite a few live viewers this evening. So we certainly appreciate you all for being with us tonight. Let's see, do I see any questions? Oh, yes, so the survey is also on the homepage of chisd.net. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat. There's some people who cannot wait for Longhorn Help to launch on June the 16th at Virginia Weaver Park. Yes.
I think that's because of the DJ, you know.
Well, that's going to be.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
I did not know that we had a DJ and I missed, you know. I have an 8-track player, but no one asked me if I would play any music, so.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, gosh. Dr. Hudson. Oh, there is a question. Can you volunteer for Longhorn Help? Ms. Bogar, can people volunteer for Longhorn Help?
Can you volunteer for Longhorn Help? I love that question. I'm going to say you can email me. You can email me and we can discuss that further and what that can look like for you.
I will put the email in the chat.
Yes, please.
Right. Okay. We can see if that's a possibility.
If someone is able to volunteer, they would have to go through our volunteer protocol.
And you can see that process. Go to chisd.net/face in order to register to be a volunteer. You will have to submit to a background check and fill out an application via Volley. So just make sure that you do that because you will be technically on our campuses. These events are at parks and they're also at our campuses. Okay, any other questions? Because I don't see any. Someone said not the 8-track.
The 8-track.
Not the 8-track. All right, Stevenson Love said thank you. Sounds like, it looks like, I don't see, okay, here we go. Here's a question. Will children, especially under 12, have a virtual option in the fall until they are eligible for vaccination? Mr. Graham, I know you want to answer that question.
Yes, thank you for that question. Currently, the virtual program is still going through legislation and hasn't been decided on at this time. Once that is decided on, we will send out information about a virtual program. We have been planning for a virtual program, but again, until the Texas legislation decide if we will be able to have it, we will not put that information out.
And just to give some clarification, there were some virtual programs prior to the pandemic, and those are still in place. And we can't bring in a new one unless the legislation allow us to do that. So there are plenty of school districts who are trying to address this issue within their districts, but there has to be certain guidelines because we don't want school districts or people poaching our kids, because we want to make sure we take care of them, because if it doesn't work for them, they're still going to be our kids, and want to make sure we provide those opportunities. So yes, we also do have a clinic, vaccination clinic, I do believe is what day is that? Is that the 9th?
It is. It's June the 9th, I believe. June
9th. We have another clinic June 9th, and we're working on another one. And this is open for our students. And that's going to be at the Teaching and Learning Center. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that information is on our website as well. And we're going to continue to try to provide as many vaccination opportunities as we can.
This question is from Lachey. Were you all going to address block scheduling tonight or another time? I will say we had just last week a Digital Parent University on this. We can certainly address it this evening if you have a specific question, but we are the district is going pretty much back to the AB Day block scheduling starting in the fall. I believe collegiate high school was already on a block schedule, so the comprehensive high school, Cedar Hill High School, will be moving to the AB Day schedule in the fall. If in the email that was sent this evening with this information about tonight's presentation, the link to all of our past Digital Parent Universities is there. So it's actually right now it would be the top one that you see if you want to go back and look at that full presentation. But I don't know if anyone else wants to address the block scheduling. I don't know if that was sufficient. Let's see. From Kath Chisholm, any special measurements or requirements to follow during help regarding COVID-19?
Thank you for that question. Yes, there will be social distancing and things put in place at each location. 2 site facilitators will be at locations, so they'll make sure they monitor the area and make sure we're still following protocol when it comes to COVID-19. Absolutely. And there'll be 2 vendors at each location, so they'll be spread out, enough room. We have outside options, so we'll be following COVID-19. Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's see, are vaccinations being required of school administration, faculty, and staff?
We cannot require anything at this particular time. There actually are some pretty interesting measures going on right now where it has been stated that now a business can require you to do it, but then OSHA has something else to say about it. So we're still continuing to follow that. So it is a choice. And so at this particular time, I don't foresee the school district making it a requirement for them to have be fully vaccinated once they come back.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. Question, will Right at School open back up when scholars return in the fall? Mr. Graham.
Thank you for that question. Yes, Right at School has been open for the entire year. We did close 2 campuses because of low participation this year, but Right at School never closed this year and will be open fully at each campus next year.
Thank you.
Elementary campus, right?
Yeah, elementary campuses. I'm sorry.
When are we, she wants to know, when are we going to do this again? One of these parent universities? Well, we do them pretty regularly.
No, I think she wants me to DJ. I think they want me to be a sugar substitute and DJ with my 8-track.
Oh,
We do have an
Little
opportunity, Dr.
OJs,
Hudson.
okay.
Commodores. I got it.
Oh, yes, Commodores. Okay.
Yes.
We do have an opportunity, Dr. Hudson, for a dunk tank at our kickoff. So,
Well, I did play basketball, so I can probably help out with.
oh, so that dunking, not the dunking in the water.
Oh no.
No, we do.
I don't think
I'm
that was
looking
a
for
part of the
someone
program.
to participate
I
in
think
the dunk tank.
I can't DJ and be in the dunk tank at the same time.
Oh, okay. You want to do both? Okay.
Okay.
Oh my goodness gracious. This question says, how many kids will be in the classroom in the fall when we return? If that's been established, I'm not sure.
We always look at, so by state law now K, but it is K through 4. There is a cap 22-1. We also, when we look at our staffing, we take in consideration secondary 25-1, 26-1, depending on the campus. So, does that mean it's going to be 25? No, it's in the average because, you have some PE classes are larger and you have some very specified courses that have very small numbers. So we still try to keep that within a certain range. So it's really hard to say exactly how many kids in the classroom, elementary, because of the state law, pre-K is the new one they just added on. So pre-K through 4, by state law, it has to be 22-1.
Thank you. This says, so there is no virtual at all? I guess
it's still a good question. There's still some things that has to be worked out through the legislation. The legislation closed, but we do know there's going to be a special session, and we don't know if this is going to be reintroduced in a special session. And so that a lot of this depends on what the legislation comes out with in addressing that. Because currently on the current practices, we cannot do it and receive full funding.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. Since the vaccine will not be required, will COVID testing be required for staff? So, good question.
No, we cannot require COVID testing for staff or students.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Ms. Ross says, will ventilation in classrooms be addressed over the summer?
As far as some of the protocols, and I'll let Mr. Prado talk a little bit about that as well. As far as some of the protocols that we've been following with COVID-19, as far as keeping some of the windows open so we can get more ventilation, some of the filters that we're using right now kind of help us protect from or allow us to help with that ventilation in the classroom right now. So we do have things in place that help with ventilation right now. I don't know the name of them. Maybe Mr. Prado can tell us about those, but that won't be an issue going further because we have already put those particular things in place based on this last year.
Yeah, and part of the evaluation that we're going through, the SR3, of course, that I mentioned earlier, there's the possibility that we could potentially move towards adding to what we already have in place. But again, we'll have to analyze that and see what it will take to potentially add more safety, more ventilation. Meaning replacing HVAC systems or adding to our HVAC system to address that, but nothing concrete at this point in time.
Thank you. This question states, have you thought about changing elementary and middle school start time? 7:30 a.m. start is extremely early. It is impossible to drop off my scholars off at schools that start at the same time. I'm not sure if this has been something that has been looked into?
Well, I can tell you that we do have a new bus company, bus transition company that's helping us analyze our school start times. It's for efficiency for our buses, and after that program is done, we will look at the start times for each school and maybe make some changes one day. But at this time for next year, we are going to keep those times the same.
Thank you. That's good to know. Oh, I'm sorry. When scholars return in the fall, will they continue to use the laptops or go back to paper for traditional learning?
Thank you for that question, but our main objective is to continue on using those devices as a means for them to do their work and continue to receive their work. So we don't want to go back to paper. We think that the laptops are fine because we do have some new testing requirements with the state testing now will be online. And so we want our kids to use them. If they don't use them, they will lose them. So therefore, we want to make sure they use them as much as possible. And that includes training our staff to make sure we have those things in place and the practices in place so they are constantly using the devices.
Thank you. Regarding transportation, will scholars that live within 2 miles from school be able to use the bus service for free, or will they be required to pay for using the bus for those scholars?
Again, at this time, we're still doing that route efficiency for our bus system. And once those things are looked at, all of these things are on the table to be possibly changed in the future. I'm thinking that at this time for next year, this will stay in place until we have a full route efficiency system available and knowledge about what's been going on in our school district to make some of these changes that parents have been asking for.
Thank you. Will more new water fountains be added to the schools? My child's elementary school only has one located near the cafeteria.
So I guess I can answer this. Is one of the things we're still waiting for because we did cover up some of the water fountains because of the CDC guidelines. And of course, as things changes, that may mean that we open up all those. We did order some new water fountains that have the bottle filling stations, and we did at least one. These are some of the things that we can address in AirSWIP, but we also have to look at if we're going to be able to use the water fountain as is, then we need to make sure we are being very efficient, or we just changing out, so that's some of the things that we're going to continue to look at. But right now, we're still looking to see how this unfolds and what they're going to require. Playgrounds, all these other questions that we had to address last year as we go into Blueprint 2.0, we want to make sure we give you the most valid, up-to-date information as possible, even things that we're not thinking about right now, because as soon as school starts, it's going to be a pressing issue for all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. I do not currently see any additional questions. I will give you a little bit of additional time to get your questions in if you'd like, either on Facebook or YouTube. Again, I do want to thank all of you this evening for taking the time out to be with us for probably what is going to be our last Digital Parent University of this school year. We might have one or two over the summer. But during this actual school year, this is number 20. So that's pretty good for this school year, us implementing all of these digital parent universities. And we hope that these have been informative and helpful for you. And again, you can always go back and look at any of these on demand. Anything that we stream live is always either available on YouTube or on our website. So we definitely want you to know that anything that you may have missed, you can always go back and take a look at. Let's see. After multiple assessments and testing this year, can parents expect a detailed report on any individual learning losses before the end of the year?
So That's a good question. So really with, and I don't know if we've had a couple of parent universities on the MAP assessment. So definitely if they took the assessment at the beginning, middle, and end, there should be some data and also tell you about what areas that they need to work on. In addition, one of the things we are working on is with our interventions, making sure as a parent you have enough information so you can see resources. If this is the band that they're in and they're lacking these particular skills, here are things that you can work on at home to help your child. Because again, we want to create partnerships between the home and the schools to make sure we address any kind of learning deficiency, because we're trying to get our kids back to where they're supposed to be as fast as possible. So again, yes, I do believe we can be able to help, because your student report that you'll get every year will show you this year, and then eventually you'll see every year and see progress. And so that's a good measure to see how well your kid is progressing throughout the school district from year to year.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. How long will the route efficiency information take, and will the information be communicated to parents?
Thank you, Ms. Hill, for that question. Yes, if you watch the board meeting on Monday, you will receive some information from Transpar about the process that they're using for the route efficiency. They will have some of that information available on Monday, but they're still going through that process. They're going to make some recommendations this summer at some point, and yes, that will be available for parents to see at a board meeting. Now, I'll also take that next question that states, will the parents be allowed on campus and participating this year with scholars? Again, parents will be allowed to participate with scholars, but there will be some restrictions still on how parents actually interact with scholars on campus this year. So it won't be the free-for-all as we've had. Well, we've never had a free-for-all, but again, there will be some different restrictions, more than what we've had in the past when we allow parents back on campus.
Thank you. When scholars return in the fall, can we expect consistency with grades entered in Parent Portal and Schoology? In addition, is there any checks in place to make sure grades are entered?
That's a great question. I don't mind taking that. So yes, we're trying to work with our teachers in doing that. We understand that when you have, when you look at one child grade versus a teacher, elementary, in some situation they have 22 kids. As a secondary, you may have 180 kids when you take in consideration 7 out of 8. So sometimes they don't get the grades in as fast as possible. We understand we live in an instant society. So if I take a test on Monday, I expect to see the results by Monday afternoon. So we are talking about working on that. Unfortunately, the way grade books and Schoology and all this other stuff, it is always have been a tail wagging the dog situation. There's no parameters in place that alert an administrator that these grades have not been put in, or the grades were not updated once a week. So we still rely on our parents to let us know that things are not in when they're supposed to. We also just had a conversation with our principals today, elementary and secondary principals, in different sessions, and we kind of had a end of year kind of reflection on things that went well and things that did not go well. And one of them brought up the fact that I'm talking about grading, that a kid may do a retake and resubmit it, but there's no notification to the teacher to let them know that something has been a retake. So we're actually tabulating some of that information. I was not aware of that. So we're going to talk to Schoology about that and see if we can actually get that resolved. Also, the grades discrepancy between Schoology and Skyward, they're supposed to be talking together, and they can't talk together because in Schoology, if a teacher decides to exempt 2 grades, well, if they exempt 2 grades and when it goes in the Skyward, it'll show 1 grade, and then in Schoology, it'll show something totally different. So we're still trying to work through some of those inconsistencies, so we will have consistency.
And just to add to that, parents, just remember that Skyward is the grading
Official.
platform. So whenever you are questioning what's going on with your scholar, you go to Skyward to look at the up-to-date grades of the student.
Thank you. Will we be contacted if our child requires summer school?
Yes, you will be contacted.
Okay. What are the restrictions for parent involvement? Can we eat lunch with them?
And those things, those specific questions like that will come out later on in the summer as we get more guidance from TEA and CDC in those particular areas. So if we wait a little bit longer before we give those specific questions on how we're going to handle those areas.
Thank you very much. Is the ISD still working on having a swim team?
I know
this quite a bit.
Yes, not to my knowledge. I have not had that brought back to me because, of course, it's about interest. It's some other things, and so that's something I probably have to discuss with my athletic director, Ms. Melanie Benjamin. But to my knowledge, I have not heard anything about more interest in swimming than prior to me getting here.
This parent asks, how can I see the volunteer hours for my scholar to make sure the required hours are accounted for? It's usually when I am dealing with a scholar who has a volunteer opportunity, generally there is a teacher at the campus. I don't know if it's the counselor or someone at the campus who is pretty much the keeper of those hours. So usually they have a form that I fill out, and then they take that and put it into something that one of their teachers is requiring from them. I don't know if it's again their counselor or which staff person. I don't know if any of you know.
Yeah, well, I definitely say that's probably a question you need to ask directly of the principal, because that's a good question, because I don't know the answer to that one, and we probably need to make sure it's coordinated through Ms. Davis, so we can have that information well, because we want to reward kids who are doing community service and volunteer hours above and beyond what is required.
Yes, and if they are doing volunteer opportunities through Volley, then you can always check their Volley account. But if it's through something campus related, then yes, I will have to do some research and follow up with that, so I'm aware of that process.
Just remember that many of those requirements for seniors were waived this year, but those will be back for next year as far as those community service hours and so forth and so on.
Well, that's not a question, but a statement. Let's see. Is CHISD considering introducing Spanish to the curriculum?
So
Spanish was a part of it, but I guess I understand.
It could be bilingual ESL, making sure that our kids get what they need, or like I said, we do have Spanish courses, so I'm not really sure which direction, but I do think we try to address some of those issues within our curriculum to make sure, especially ESL and PSYOP, to make sure our kids get what they need with ELPS, so they don't struggle if they need that support.
Will there be any discussion about sports being offered at Collegiate Academy?
No.
All right, and there you have it. All right, it looks like we've answered every question that has been posed this evening. Again, we appreciate you for being here with us. And this year has been very interesting. It's been a challenge for us all, but we have all persevered and we have made it through. And goodness gracious, for our seniors, next Friday is your day. I want to remind any senior who is watching this, or any senior parent, guardian, friend, someone like that, if you have not put your scholar, your senior, on the Adopt Cedar Hill ISD Class of 2021 Senior Facebook page, please make sure you do that. It is a Facebook group We want to make sure we are providing your senior scholars with, we want to shower them with goodness, with their favorite items, and that's what we really want to do. I actually have my scholars stuff under my desk because I'm going to be delivering it soon. So please make sure you get on there and nominate your seniors. All right. I see a couple more questions. This is a question. So we have answered this. This has been addressed. There's not clarity on this right now because there's a lot of different guidelines that have to be adhered to. So when information is readily available to provide to everyone at the same time, so we're all on the same page, we will certainly offer that information over the summer. What is this? Since Chromebook use will continue when all scholars return to campus in the fall, does that mean Schoology will continue to be utilized? Yes, Schoology will continue to be utilized. Has there been any discussion about returning to Google Classroom? It was less confusing for both parents and scholars to navigate, in my opinion. I don't have an answer to that, but Schoology will be continued to be used.
Well, and I can just kind of address that a little bit. Google Classroom is very limited. It is only between the teacher and the students. And it was not an easy way for administration to make sure to stay on top of what was going on in the classroom. Schoology is a different platform. It's a true learning management system. It allows us to integrate our textbooks, all the APIs, the different things they need that Google Classroom would not be able to do. So there are some good functionalities of Google Classroom, but if you're looking at overall the best thing for our students moving forward, Schoology provide us with the more bells and whistles as we continue to move forward in this online platform.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. And yes, Angelica, that is correct. Volunteer hours will be back to normal. If you're talking about for scholars, the requirements for scholars will be back to normal next school year. Okay, let me get my, you guys know it, let me get my banner up. Oh, what does that mean? It means it's time to go. Thank you very much once again. We hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for a wonderful 2020. Wait, is it 2020? Yeah, 2020, 2021 school year. And we are looking forward to 2021, 2022. All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.